So this episode of Rewrite was actually pretty good in my opinion. You can tell that it feels a little rushed based on the fact that you can tell they're cramming a lot of content in only 20 minutes. I mean, in a lot of ways, I feel like they probably could have took whatever they took from the visual novel, because they're definitely, it feels like they are taking some stuff from there, because we are taking the Salvation, which I heard is from the visual novels. So it does feel like they probably could have took, like, 3 episodes to do what they did here, but I mean, we only have one more episode left. They're gonna have to be a little fast paced, and I'm sure a lot of people aren't a fan of that, but for me, it wasn't that big of a deal, because I actually thoroughly enjoyed the episode. Now, I'm going to say right now, this review is probably going to be a little shorter than you're used to with Rewrite, and it may not be, as good in terms of standards as other parts, and I do apologize for that. I'm just not feeling that great. I had the flu or something because my body just feels like it wants to shut down, so I'm just going to try to get this done and over with, but I am going to talk about all the major points that I do want to discuss, because this episode was fairly good, I thought. We're getting into that Salvation. It's pretty clear we're getting a bad end, but if that bad end does lead up to the other arcs that apparently happen after Salvation, that's going to be awesome. And, based on the fact that, Kotoro's voice actor pretty much said it was like half of the story, or whatever the deal with that was, but it basically, when it was like, I think around like episode 6, his voice actor pretty much confirmed that there was going to be like 2 cores worth or something like that. So, I mean, everything's lining up to be that second season, which will be awesome because I really want to continue talking about it. But Salvation is pretty much, here. Everything's looking grim as hell, especially with that ending. But one thing I really liked was the fire guy, I forget his name, but he's on Akane's side. He got, the dinosaur from Akane, but he did have a promise that he wouldn't, touch the key. And in doing so, it kind of bites him in the ass, and he literally gets killed for it, because him and Kotaro go at it, Wolverine versus fire guy, Human Torch. They're having a fight, and, I really enjoyed that fight. I thought the animation was dipping here and there, but it wasn't too bad. Like, the major problems with the animation was with the hunters versus him, because, it looks sloppy. I haven't been, a hater on the CGI in the series. I actually found the CGI works well for the monsters because it makes them feel more unworldly. But, just with how many they had on screen at one time versus him and the hunters, it definitely looked pretty bad. But, it didn't last for too long, so I can just kind of look past it, but it's an issue nonetheless. But I liked him, him and Kotaro actually fighting. He's trying to protect the key, and then he whispers something. You don't know what it is until later in the episode, so I'm just sitting here thinking, like, what did he tell Kotaro? Like, I just couldn't piece it together, and then at the end it gets confirmed that if we let the key live, the world's gonna end, so keep it safe, buddy. I'm just sitting here like, man, this guy is no chill. But, he has to protect Kotaro because the hunters are coming after the key. They want to kill the key before the world gets destroyed, because, I mean, I don't blame him in a lot of ways. But, he has to protect the key because he did make that promise, but you actually see him get killed. He's using that dinosaur and he's just kicking ass and taking names, but you get to see a flashback to his past where it looks like it was his friends. It might have been his family too. I'm not exactly sure who all these little kids were, if it was just his friends or, a combination of family and friends, but they got mowed down from the government or someone like that. And just watching that, you don't really feel for it because, you just met these characters and he's always been an enemy, but it gives you some humanity to him and you understand why he's doing the things he's doing. He wanted to see the end of this world because, I mean, I don't blame him. It doesn't give him the right to want to destroy the world, but you can understand why he's doing it. So I did like that they gave him some humanity and reasons for him doing it, because a lot of animes would have just left this guy as a sideline villain, nothing to it, especially the fact that this is only a 13 episode anime so far. They could have easily just left that little backstory out of it and no one would have blinked an eye, besides the visual novel players, because that was probably in the visual novel. So I really did like seeing that backstory. It adds a lot to his character, and I really did dig that. As well, we get to see Kotori's parents, and, last week, I think it was last week, everyone was pointing to the coffins, and I realized there was something going on with the coffins, but I couldn't figure out what it was. But it turns out the first monster she made was actually her parents after that car accident, which I think it was back. I think in one of the comments I mentioned, like, probably someone in the car got, hurt, but I just didn't think it was her parents because we saw her parents in episode 1. Now it kind of comes full circle on why she was so reluctant to go home in episode 1 when Kotaro, goes and finds her, because she doesn't want to see the monster she made because they're imitating her parents, but they aren't really her parents. But at the same time, during the battle when they're fighting, she actually can hear them talking, or like she has a connection because she created them, and they sound identical to her parents, and they get killed. And I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, I didn't see that one coming. I mean, there was something going on with it. I had an assumption that, she was making some sort of Dracula, humanoids or something like that, but I didn't think it would be her parents, just because the anime for anime only is, we saw her parents, like there was nothing there. But now seeing how it is, how everything plays out, it gives, it makes so much sense, you know, with episode 1, with why she was just staying in the forest, she never wanted to go home kind of a thing. And I really did dig that. And also it was interesting, like, were they really her parents? Like, did she really just make monsters to emulate them? Or were they really her parents? Because in a lot of ways with that dialogue they have, it seems like there was, but it might have just been a really good puppet in a lot of ways. But I love seeing that. Probably my favorite part of the entire episode is just learning that she actually recreated her parents. You know, it was the first one she did as a druid, and that's amazing to me. I really did like that as well. Also, Akane is starting to question her grandmother because she is getting these visions, because last week mentioned, you know, last week or the week before, I forget which one, that, you know, when the next one rises up to power, they get the soul and memories of the previous one, so just that hatred and corruption just leads on and builds and builds and builds. And, you know, Akane is trying to fight it off because she's seen happiness in the world. She had that club, and she wants to keep fighting it off, but her grandmother is a sick, cold son of a bitch, brutally murders the one guy who pulls a gun on her because he's like, we need to, you know, protect the key for when the key does something. We shouldn't, you know, want to watch the entire world get destroyed, which is a little weird with his ideals on the whole matter. But I mean, I was just like, yeah, shoot the bitch. Like, get her out of the picture. Let's stop this. But yeah, I mean, I just really enjoyed that. But I'm interested because salvation is here, right? You know, everything, the world's about to be destroyed, it looks like, or reborn in a lot of ways. You know, Kaguri's lost her, you know, ideal. She says she couldn't find happiness or something like that. And, you know, the monsters wreaking havoc in the world, killing people. So it looks like next week, you know, the world's going to be destroyed and recreated, and maybe that's how it leads into those new arcs. It, you know, everyone dies, but then they get reborn in a new arc, you know, new world, whatever it is. So if that's the case, I could definitely see next week ending with a confirmation of season 2, something like that. Probably would air in winter next year, probably, because that's usually how split cores work. That's what I see happening. But I mean, I think we're getting a second season based on the fact that it is ending, and based on what I've heard, you know, Salvation leads into that Moon and Terra arc. So we'll have to wait and see. But overall, I thought it was a solid episode. Like I said, there's a lot I could dive into it, but I'm not feeling that great, so I do want to cut it a little short, so I do apologize there. But if I missed anything or anything like that, just leave me a comment and I'll respond as soon as I can for anything like that. So as always, guys, be sure to hit the like button to show your support. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more content like this and so much more. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.